try a new video here. I tried this once before and I had the microphone messed up, and so I didn't get any sound, but so I'm going to try it again. Getting ready to put things away. It's the middle of November and it turned cold today. Dogs are still out barking. And anyway, going to do another video here about this table that I built. And I kind of, last couple videos I did, I said they were for certain people, and so this one's for Brian. Brian, this video is for you. So I had a table that was out here on the deck, a metal table with a glass top, and glass top got broken in the wind, and so I kept the frame. Wasn't sure what I was going to do with it, but it looked too good to throw away, so anyway, I kept it. I also received some old barn siding from a friend of mine, and I had it piled up, and so one day I got the bright idea that I'd make a tabletop out of it and coat it with epoxy. So this is my first attempt at doing an epoxy tabletop. I had used some epoxy or combinations thereof to make pen blanks before, but I'd never done anything like this. So I didn't know exactly what product to use. I ended up on Amazon. I found a product called Tabletop Epoxy. Imagine that, by Pro Marine. It's a two-part epoxy, equal mixes. And so it's not cheap by any means. It took me the full 2 gallon to do this tabletop. And of course, one of the concerns is getting it mixed well. Getting it weighed well. You want to be as close you can to equal parts. Getting the air bubbles out of it. As it turns out, those were probably some of my least concerns when I was done. I put the wood together. I tried to seal as many, since it was old barn wood and it was a tongue and groove. There were some places where the tongues were broken, some holes in the wood. So I went through with silicone caulk, and I caulked everything that I could find, that I thought I could find, and I thought I had a pretty good job. But mixing it is not, I don't think, the biggest deal. You just got to take your time. I use a little kitchen scale that I weigh all that stuff on, and just take your time. Mix it, stir it slowly. I just use these plastic paint buckets that, they're marked on the sides, so they're easy to do a mix with. Did learn something. I left some in it, and when it was all dried and set, I peeled it right out again, so I didn't end up losing these containers. Like I said, I used, it comes 1 gallon of each part to mix. I had both gallon I used. One thing I'll tell you is, wherever you do this, make sure you've got the floor covered underneath, because it will drip off the edges. Also, you don't need to worry about those drips, but you want to make sure that you got the floor covered. I did a pretty good job, but I had a couple spots I missed for some reason, and so I had to start on an epoxy garage floor. The problems that I ran into, number one was I didn't get all the voids filled, and so I had product coming through in places I didn't expect. Suggestion, if you're doing this for the first time, do not use a product to cover like I did, like this barn siding. Use a nice solid top, nice smooth solid top, because what happened was I ended up with some low spots. And here's number 2: if you're going to pour another, if you've got that situation, make sure you pour a whole coat. Do not try to fill in spots. A mistake that I made. I should have poured a whole second coat, leveled it again, and I'd have been okay. And as it turns out, I'm using this table outside on the deck. It's not going to be an issue, but if you feel real closely, you can find some spots. But all in all, it worked really well. You can't see it real well probably on the video. This has been out here probably about 3 months now. No, probably longer than that. Probably 4 months. I think I did it in late July or August. And I had an umbrella over it, and it sits under a tree most of the time. But this has yellowed some. No big deal for out here. I don't think it would, and so it may yellow in the sunlight, I guess is what I'm saying. Otherwise, it stood up really well to the weather. Hasn't cracked. Hasn't you know, broken down in any other way. Again, the things, you know, if I was this is the first time for me, and I'm making this thinking it'll be first time for somebody watching it. I think mixing the product, you know, oh, the other thing, when you do mix it and you pour it, you're going to have air bubbles. And I used a heat gun. You can use a heat gun, or you can use an acetylene torch, and it's really simpler than it looks. I just kept going over the surface, and you put that heat to it, and it pulls those bubbles right out. Again, I had more problems because I was using such a porous, uneven substrate. And I think if you had a nice smooth substrate, it would work really slick. As it turns out, I don't think I've really got any air bubbles in this, and it worked really well. So I guess don't be afraid to try it. Make sure your substrate the first time you do it is something really smooth, nice, clean. Have everything covered underneath that you don't want epoxy on. I was concerned about the dripping off the edges, but I think that's just kind of the way it works, and it really turned out well. And I'm using a table that some people thought I'd never do anything with, so we're getting some use out of it, and it's been a good addition to our deck and our pool area. So thanks again for watching, and have a good day.